I walked out of my own son's wedding, not because I did not love him, not because I was not happy for him, because I could not watch him destroy his life, because I could not stand by while he married a woman who did not love him, because I could not pretend anymore. His name is David, my only son, the boy I held in my arms when he was born, the boy I watched take his first steps, the boy I taught to ride a bike, the boy I stayed up with when he was sick, the boy I loved more than anything in the world. But he was making a mistake, a big mistake, and everyone knew it. His father, his friends, his aunts, his uncles, even his grandmother. Everyone knew that Vanessa was wrong for him. But no one said anything. No one wanted to cause a scene. No one wanted to ruin the wedding. I tried to talk to him. The night before, I called him. I said, "David, are you sure about this?" He said, "What do you mean, Mom?" I said, "Are you sure she is the one? Are you sure you love her? Are you sure you are not just settling?" He was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "I am sure, Mom. I love her. She makes me happy." I did not believe him. I could hear it in his voice. He was not sure. He was scared. He was settling. He was making the biggest mistake of his life. But I did not say anything else. I did not want to push him away. I did not want to be the mother who interferes. I did not want to be the mother who ruins her son's wedding. So I went to the wedding. I wore a blue dress, the color of peace, the color of my front door. I sat in the front row, next to his father, next to his grandmother, next to his aunts and uncles. The church was beautiful. Flowers everywhere, candles everywhere, music everywhere. Everyone was smiling. Everyone was happy. Everyone except me. The bride walked down the aisle. She was beautiful. Her dress was white. Her veil was long. Her smile was bright, but her eyes were cold. I had seen those eyes before. They were the eyes of someone who was taking, not giving. The eyes of someone who was controlling, not loving. The priest asked, "Who gives this woman to be married?" Her father said, "I do." Then the priest turned to David. He said, "Do you take this woman to be your lawfully wedded wife?" David looked at Vanessa. He looked at her for a long time. His face was pale. His hands were shaking. He looked like he wanted to run. He looked like he wanted to say no. He looked like he wanted to disappear. Then he said, "I do." My heart broke. I knew. I knew that he was lying. I knew that he did not mean it. I knew that he was making the biggest mistake of his life. The priest said, "You may kiss the bride." David kissed her. It was a cold kiss, a lifeless kiss, a kiss that said, "I am doing this because I have to, not because I want to." I stood up. I could not sit there anymore. I could not pretend anymore. I could not watch my son destroy his life. I walked out. The church went quiet. People turned to look at me. I heard whispers. "Where is she going? What is she doing? Is she okay?" I did not look back. I walked down the aisle, past the flowers, past the candles, past the music, past the bride, past the groom, past my son. I walked out the door, into the sun, into the silence, into the unknown. That was 15 years ago. My son did not speak to me for 10 years. He said I embarrassed him. He said I ruined his wedding. He said I was the worst mother in the world. But I was right. His marriage was a disaster. Vanessa controlled him, isolated him, broke him, and after 10 years, she left him. She took the children. She took the house. She took everything. And then, one rainy Tuesday, there was a knock at my door. My son was standing there. He was crying. He said, "Mom, you were right. She was wrong for me. I should have listened." I said, "Come in, David. I have been waiting for you." He said, "I am sorry, Mom. I am so sorry for walking away, for blaming you. for not speaking to you for 10 years. I said, I forgive you, David. I forgave you a long time ago. I was just waiting for you to come home. He said, I am home, Mom. I am home. I walked out of my own son's wedding, and I was right. And he came back, and we healed. Let me go back. Let me tell you about the boy I raised. The boy who married the wrong woman. The boy whose wedding I walked out of. I met my husband Richard in 1965. I was 18. He was 20. He was a carpenter. Strong hands, quiet voice, kind eyes. He built things with his hands. Tables, chairs, cradles. He built our first dining table, the one I am sitting at now. He built it for our first apartment. We had no money, no furniture, just that table and each other. We got married in my mother's backyard. Simple, small. My mother made my dress, white lace. She cried when she saw me. She said, Helen, you look like an angel. I said, I feel like one, Mama. We had one child, David, our only son. I held him in the delivery room. He was so small, so fragile. His fingers curled around mine. I cried. Richard cried. He said, we made a person, Helen, a whole person. I said, we did good, Richard. He said, we did okay. Let's see if we can keep him alive. We did. We kept him alive. We raised him. We loved him. We made mistakes. Every parent does. But we never made him feel unloved. Not once. Not ever. David was a sweet boy. Easy. Quiet. He did not get into trouble. He did his homework without being asked. He cleaned his room. He said please and thank you. Other parents used to say, how did you raise such a good boy? I did not have an answer. I just got lucky. Or maybe Richard and I did something right. I do not know. Parenting is a mystery. You try your best, and you hope. Richard died when David was 23, just out of college, just starting his life. The doctors said it was a heart attack. Sudden, quick, no warning. He was in his workshop, building a rocking chair for our porch. He never finished it. I finished it. I am not a carpenter. It is crooked. The rockers are uneven, but I sit in it every night. I talk to him, and I tell him about my day. I was 43 years old, a widow, alone. After Richard died, I did not know who I was. For 23 years, I was Helen and Richard. We were a pair, like salt and pepper, like coffee and cream. Now I was just Helen, and Helen did not know how to be alone. David stepped in. He called every day. He visited every weekend. He brought groceries. He fixed things around the house, the faucet that dripped, the step that creaked, the light in the hallway that had been broken for 6 months. He fixed everything, except the hole in my heart. Then he met Vanessa. Vanessa worked at a bank. She was a manager. She was younger than him, 24. David was 26. She was sharp, ambitious, beautiful. She wore expensive clothes and spoke like she was giving a presentation. She reminded me of a businesswoman, polished, professional, cold. I met her for the first time at a restaurant. David wanted me to meet her somewhere neutral. He was nervous. I could tell. He kept checking his phone. He kept looking at the door. Vanessa arrived on time. She walked in like she owned the place. She sat down. She said, "You must be Helen. David talks about you all the time." I said, "All good things, I hope." She smiled, but her smile did not reach her eyes. It was a smile she had practiced, a smile she used with clients, a smile that said, "I am being polite, but do not mistake this for warmth." She ordered a salad, no dressing, a glass of white wine. She ate the salad like she was performing a task. She talked about her career, her promotions, her goals. She did not ask me one question about myself, not one. Not, "What do you do?" Not what do you like? Not how are you doing after losing your husband? After she left, David said, "So, what do you think?" I said, "She is very professional." He said, "That is a good thing, Mom. She knows what she wants." I said, "Does she want a family? Does she want children?" He said, "Eventually, when she is ready." I did not say what I was thinking. I did not say, "Son, life does not wait for ready." I did not say, "Love is not a business meeting." I did not say, "I have a bad feeling about this." I said, "If she makes you happy, I am happy for you." He smiled. He looked relieved. He said, "Thanks, Mom. That means everything." They got engaged 6 months later. David called me. He was excited. He said, "Mom, I proposed." She said yes. I said, "That is wonderful, sweetheart. I am happy for you." But I was not happy. I was worried. I was scared. I knew that Vanessa was wrong for him. I knew that she did not love him. I knew that she was using him. But I did not say anything. I did not want to ruin his happiness. I did not want to be the mother who interferes. The wedding planning began. Vanessa wanted everything perfect. The venue, the flowers, the cake, the band, the invitations, the favors. Everything had to be just so. David paid for most of it. He took out a loan for a wedding. I wanted to say something, but I did not. It was not my place. I offered to help. I had some savings, not much, but enough to cover the flowers or the catering. Vanessa said, "No, thank you, Helen. We want to do this ourselves, our way." She called me Helen, not Mom, not even Mrs. Davis, Helen, like I was a coworker, like I was someone she had just met. The wedding was set for June, a summer wedding, outside in a garden. It was going to be beautiful. Everyone was excited. Everyone except me. The night before the wedding, I could not sleep. I tossed and turned. I prayed. I begged God to stop the wedding, to open David's eyes, to show him the truth. At midnight, I called him. I know it was late, but I could not wait. He answered. He said, "Mom, it is midnight. What is wrong?" I said, "David, are you sure about this?" He said, "What do you mean, Mom?" I said, "Are you sure she is the one? Are you sure you love her? Are you sure you are not just settling?" He was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "I am sure, Mom. I love her. She makes me happy." I said, "Does she, David? Does she really make you happy? Or are you just trying to convince yourself?" He said, "Why are you doing this, Mom? Why are you trying to ruin my wedding?" I said, "I am not trying to ruin your wedding, David. I am trying to save you. I am trying to prevent you from making the biggest mistake of your life." He said, "You do not know her like I do. You do not love her like I do. You do not understand." I said, "I understand more than you think, David. I see things you do not see. I feel things you do not feel. I know that she is wrong for you." He said, "I do not want to talk about this anymore, Mom. I am going to bed. I will see you at the wedding." He hung up. I sat in my rocking chair. I looked at the phone. I thought about calling him back, but I did not. I just sat there, in the dark, in the silence, in the fear. The wedding day arrived. The sun was shining. The sky was blue. The birds were singing. It was a perfect day for a wedding. Except it was not perfect. It was a disaster waiting to happen. I wore a blue dress, the color of peace, the color of my front door. I drove to the church. I parked my car. I sat there for a moment. I prayed. I asked God to give me strength. I walked into the church. It was beautiful. Flowers everywhere. Candles everywhere. Music everywhere. Everyone was smiling. Everyone was happy. Everyone except me. I sat in the front row, next to Richard's sister, my sister-in-law, Margaret. She leaned over. She whispered, "Are you okay, Helen? You look pale." I said, "I am fine, Margaret. Just nervous." She said, "It is just a wedding, Helen. Everything will be fine." I nodded. I smiled. I pretended. The music started. The bridesmaids walked down the aisle. Their dresses were pink. Their flowers were white. They were smiling. They were happy. Then the bride walked down the aisle. She was beautiful. Her dress was white. Her veil was long. Her smile was bright, but her eyes were cold. I had seen those eyes before. They were the eyes of someone who was taking, not giving. The eyes of someone who was controlling, not loving. She reached the altar. She took David's hand. He looked at her. His face was pale. His hands were shaking. He looked like he wanted to run. He looked like he wanted to say no. He looked like he wanted to disappear. The priest began. He said, "Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to join this man and this woman in holy matrimony." He read the vows. He asked the questions. He gave the sermon. Then he turned to David. He said, "Do you take this woman to be your lawfully wedded wife?" David looked at Vanessa. He looked at her for a long time. His face was pale. His hands were shaking. He looked like he wanted to run. He looked like he wanted to say no. He looked like he wanted to disappear. The priest said again, "David, do you take this woman to be your lawfully wedded wife?" David opened his mouth. He looked at Vanessa. He looked at her for a long time. Then he said, "I do." My heart broke. I knew that he was lying. I knew that he did not mean it. I knew that he was making the biggest mistake of his life. The priest turned to Vanessa. He said, "Vanessa, do you take this man to be your lawfully wedded husband?" She smiled, that tight smile. She said, "I do." The priest said, "May I have the rings?" David's hands were shaking as he put the ring on her finger. Vanessa's hands were steady as she put the ring on his. The priest said, "By the power vested in me, I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss the bride." David kissed her. It was a cold kiss, a lifeless kiss, a kiss that said, "I am doing this because I have to, not because I want to." I stood up. I could not sit there anymore. I could not pretend anymore. I could not watch my son destroy his life. I walked out. The church went quiet. People turned to look at me. I heard whispers. Where is she going? What is she doing? Is she okay? I did not look back. I walked down the aisle, past the flowers, past the candles, past the music, past the bride, past the groom, past my son. I walked out the door, into the sun, into the silence, into the unknown. The door closed behind me. I stood on the steps. The sun was warm on my face. The birds were singing. The world was beautiful, but my heart was broken. I walked to my car. I got in. I sat there for a moment, looking at the church, looking at the doors, looking at the place where my son had just made the biggest mistake of his life. I started the car. I drove home. 40 minutes, through sun, through silence, through tears. When I got home, I sat in my rocking chair. I looked at the phone. I thought about calling my sister. I thought about calling my friend. I thought about calling someone who would understand. But I did not. I just sat there, in the sun, in the silence, in the heartbreak. After the wedding, David did not speak to me. He said I embarrassed him. He said I ruined his wedding. He said I was the worst mother in the world. He did not answer my calls. He did not return my messages. He did not open the door when I visited. I tried to explain. I tried to apologize. I tried to make him understand, but he would not listen. He was too angry, too hurt, too proud. Years passed. 1, 5, 10 years of silence. 10 years of waiting by the phone. 10 years of hoping for a call that never came. I did not stop living. I could not. I had to keep going. I had to keep breathing. I had to keep hoping. I went to church every Sunday. I lit a candle for David, for Vanessa, for my grandchildren, for the family I had lost. I prayed. I prayed for them. I prayed for me. I prayed for the day my son would forgive me. I went to the cemetery. Every month, I sat by Richard's grave. I talked to him. I told him about David, about the silence, about the years. I said, "Richard, I walked out of his wedding, and he has not spoken to me since. Was I wrong? Should I have stayed? Should I have pretended?" Richard did not answer. He never does. But I felt him. I felt his hand on my shoulder. I felt his love. And I knew that no matter what happened next, I was not alone. Not really. I joined a support group for parents of estranged children. There were other mothers there, women like me, women who had walked out of weddings, women who had said the wrong thing, women who were waiting, hoping, praying. We would sit in a circle. We would share our stories. Some would cry. Some would laugh. Some would just sit in silence. I learned that I was not alone, that my pain was not unique, that thousands of mothers were sitting in rocking chairs, staring at walls, waiting for their children to forgive them. But I never gave up. I never stopped loving. I never stopped hoping. I kept the phone plugged in. I kept the ringer on. I kept my heart open. Because one day, I knew he would forgive me. He would understand. He would come home. The knock came on a Tuesday. In the rain. At my front door. I was in the kitchen, making tea. The rain was falling outside. The world was gray. I was not expecting anyone. I never expected anyone anymore. I walked to the door. I opened it. He was standing there. He was old. His hair was gray. His face was wrinkled. His eyes were red. He had been crying. He looked older than his years. He looked tired. He looked broken. He said, "Mom." That was all. Just Mom. I said, "David." He said, "Can I come in?" I stepped aside. He walked in. He looked around my living room. The furniture was old. The curtains were faded. The walls needed paint. But it was mine. It was home. It was where he had grown up. It was where he belonged. He sat on the couch. I sat in my rocking chair. We did not speak for a long time. The rain was falling outside. The clock was ticking. The world was waiting. Then he said, "Mom, you were right. About everything. About Vanessa. About the wedding. About the mistake. You were right. And I was wrong. I was so wrong." I started crying. Not loud crying, quiet crying. The kind that comes from deep in the heart. He said, "She left me, Mom. She took the kids. She took the house. She took the car. She took everything. I have nothing. I have no one." I said, "You have me, David. You have always had me. I never left. I was just waiting for you to forgive me." He said, "I am sorry, Mom. I am so sorry for blaming you, for not speaking to you for 10 years, for choosing her over you, for being too proud to admit that you were right." I said, "I forgive you, David. I forgave you a long time ago. I was just waiting for you to come home." He said, "I am home, Mom. I am home, and I am never leaving again." He cried. He put his head in his hands. He said, "I should have listened to you. I should have listened to you the night before the wedding. You tried to warn me. You tried to save me, but I would not listen. I was too stubborn, too scared, too proud." I said, "You were young, David. You were in love. You thought you knew everything. You did not want to hear the truth. I understand. I forgive you." He said, "I walked out of your life because you walked out of my wedding. I was so angry, so hurt, so embarrassed. But now I understand. You walked out because you loved me." because you could not watch me destroy my life, because you were trying to save me. I said, that is what mothers do, David. We walk out of weddings. We say the hard things. We take the blame. We wait. We hope. We pray. And when our children come home, we forgive. David moved back into my house, not permanently, just for a while, just until he figured things out. He slept in his old room, the one with the posters still on the wall, the one with the high school trophies on the shelf. I cooked for him every day: pot roast, meatloaf, chicken soup, the foods he loved as a boy, the foods that made him feel safe. He ate everything: 2 servings, 3 servings. He was hungry, not just for food, for home, for the mother he had blamed for 10 years. We fell back into our old rhythm: Sunday afternoons, cooking together, watching old movies, talking about nothing and everything. He told me about his marriage, about the control, about the isolation, about the lies, about how Vanessa had turned him against me. He said, "She told me you were trying to ruin our wedding. She told me you were jealous. She told me you did not want me to be happy." I believed her because I wanted to believe her, because it was easier than facing the truth. I said, "What is the truth, David?" He said, "The truth is that you were the only one who really loved me. You walked out of my wedding because you could not watch me make a mistake. And I hated you for it. But you were right. You were always right." I said, "I was not right, David. I was just a mother who loved her son, a mother who could not watch him destroy his life, a mother who was willing to be hated if it meant saving him. I was not right." He said, "You did save me, Mom. Not then, but now. You saved me by never giving up, by never stopping loving me, by keeping the door open, by forgiving me." David filed for divorce. Vanessa did not fight it. She had already moved on. She had met someone else, a man from her gym. She remarried 6 months after the papers were signed. She moved to another state. She took the children with her. David fought for custody. He fought hard. He hired a good lawyer. He went to court. He told the judge about Vanessa's lies, about her manipulation, about her isolation. The judge gave him joint custody. The children would live with Vanessa during the school year. They would stay with David every summer and every other holiday. It was not perfect, but it was something. It was a start. David stayed in my house for a year. He saved money. He went to therapy. He healed. He forgave himself. He forgave me. He forgave Vanessa. Then he bought a small house, not far from mine, close enough to visit every day, far enough to have his own space. He started coming for Sunday dinners every week, just like old times. I cooked, he helped, we ate, we talked, we laughed, we argued about stupid things, like we did when he was young. My grandchildren started coming with him. They had been told that I was the bad guy, that I had ruined their parents' wedding, that I was the reason their family was broken. But children are smart. They watched, they listened, they felt, and they realized that the stories were not true. Lily, my granddaughter, said, "Grandma, Daddy said you walked out of his wedding. Why did you do that?" I said, "Because I love your daddy, sweetheart, and I could not watch him make a mistake. Sometimes love means doing hard things. Sometimes love means walking away." She said, "Do you love me?" I said, "I love you more than all the stars in the sky, Lily, more than all the fish in the ocean, more than all the sand on the beach. I love you more than you will ever know." She smiled. She said, "I love you too, Grandma." So here I am, 69 years old, living in my home, the home where I raised my son, the home where I buried my husband, the home where I waited for 10 years for my son to forgive me. I walked out of my own son's wedding, and I was right. And he came back, and we healed. Not because I was perfect, not because I did everything right, because I loved him, because I was willing to be hated, because I was willing to walk away, because I was willing to wait. I have learned something in this house, something I want to share with you, especially if you are a mother, a grandmother, a woman who has walked out of a wedding, a woman who has said the hard thing, a woman who has been blamed, a woman who is waiting, hoping, praying for her child to come home. Here it is. Do not give up. Do not stop loving. Do not stop hoping, even when they blame you, even when they walk away, even when the phone does not ring. Keep the door open. Keep your heart open. Keep your love open, because one day they might come home, and you want to be there when they do. I walked out of my own son's wedding, and he did not speak to me for 10 years. But he came back. He forgave me. He loved me, and I forgave him. That is my story. Thank you for listening.